Hi everyone, my name's Daryl. So if you don't know, I was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome 4 years ago. I was re-diagnosed with CIDP after a bad relapse. Today, and this is kind of now a tradition, every time I get my IVIG treatment that you can see, I go ahead and create a video just to help others. So this year has kind of been a year of some pretty dramatic improvements in my health and in my condition. And I want to talk about my Grand Canyon rim-to-rim hike and the importance of never giving up. So my disease progression was a little bit different than probably most folks that you've met. Like I said, I was diagnosed initially with Guillain-Barré syndrome, basically because of the acute nature of my disease, but I continued to get worse for past 8 weeks. And I really didn't see any improvements until after I started my IVIG treatment, which is kind of a hallmark for CIDP. So eventually, I actually lost my ability to walk. And after my IVIG treatment, I did start getting better, but I couldn't really start walking unassisted until about 3 months after I received my treatment. With both GBS and CIDP, it's so important that you keep a positive attitude and that you don't give up. And I'm a very competitive person by nature, and I'm stubborn as well. And so it's just not the way I was built to give up. And so I want to talk a little bit about that today. So in May of this year, I attempted a similar hike at the Grand Canyon. It was about 8 miles shorter than the one I recently completed, and I had a lot of difficulty. So I didn't train enough for the hike, I didn't have the proper nutrition with me, and I started cramping up. I was actually cramping up the night before because I believe my CIDP condition was kind of flaring up. And so that really didn't put me in a good condition for completing the hike. But yeah, I wasn't going to give up, but I probably should have, because it was pretty much a disaster. It was about a 14-mile hike, and it literally took me over 11 hours to complete the hike. So fast forward to today, and this hike was a lot different. So I prepared for it much differently. I actually started preparing for the hike pretty much right after the failed hike at the Grand Canyon in May. So I spent about 5 months training. I did hikes twice a week. I did weightlifting. I did additional cardio. I also changed my diet around because I really wasn't getting the appropriate amount of nutrition and protein in my diet. I changed my supplement schedule, and specifically for this hike, I actually changed around my IVIG schedule so that the hike, instead of falling right at the beginning of when I had my infusion or towards the end when my infusion was scheduled for, it actually fell right in the middle of that timing. The other thing that I did is I found a training partner, basically to keep me accountable, and she agreed to do weekly hikes with me, and eventually I actually convinced her to do the rim-to-rim hike so we could do it together. And having somebody there with you to constantly push you and to keep you accountable, to make sure that you actually show up and do the hike, that makes an incredible difference. So the work really paid off as I completed the hike in just a little over 10 hours. And most folks doing this hike will average about 12 hours to complete it. Now, I'm not going to say that the hike went totally smoothly, because I do have a condition, a chronic condition, and I have permanent nerve damage in both my legs. And I especially have more problems with my right leg than my left. And my ankle on my right-hand side is incredibly weak. So I actually had to purchase an ankle brace before the hike just to protect my ankles. And about halfway through the hike, I could feel the muscle starting to give out and the nerves. I basically wasn't able to really control the ankle very much about, I would say, 14 miles into the hike. So that was difficult. But luckily, the ankle brace really helped out. In addition to that, on the last mile and a half of the hike, and really the last mile and a half is the toughest part of the hike, I started to bonk. and bonking is a technical term for when you really start to get tired. So I talked to myself when I felt my legs getting really heavy and me getting so tired. I stopped for a second and I said, I didn't do all this training just to fail with 1.5 miles to go. And that little pep talk that I did myself, it made all the difference. I regained my strength, I regained my fortitude to continue the hike, and I finished very strongly. So my advice to anyone out there who is struggling with this condition is you can and you will get better with a good attitude and a commitment to follow your training, to follow your diet, to follow your doctor's orders and whatever they're saying or suggesting that you do. It is possible to get better. Also, like I did, consider finding a partner that is in a similar situation that you are. There's lots of folks out there on our Facebook groups who I'm sure would really relish having somebody that they can talk to. If they're not local, you could do it at a distance where you could talk about the things that you did that day, where you can keep each other accountable, and having someone there to go through the struggle with and to make improvements and to talk about your achievements and the goals that you've set for yourself, and accomplishing those goals can make a real difference. So if you're wondering what's next for me, yeah, I'm still gonna hike, but I wanna change up the goal. I'm very much a goal-oriented person, and I'm now gonna pursue cycling. So I'm about ready to purchase a new bike where I'm going to start training basically for a multi-day tour across the state of Nevada with my bicycle. And yeah, I've already started training and I just can't wait for that. That's gonna be a lot of fun. If you are struggling, I hope this video does give you some strength, does inspire you that you can actually achieve your goals, and I hope to see you in the next one again very soon.
I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago.